A big hello to my lovely listeners. I am Devi and I welcome you all to yet another real life scary story. Samaresh was hardly 15 years old when he experienced the presence of some unearthly entity. A few days back, while narrating that incident, his body trembled with fear as if he underwent that event afresh. What was happened to him? Why was he so afraid? To know it all, stay with him till the end of the video, and to hear more such real life stories, please like, share, subscribe to my channel. If any of my YouTube family members are new and have missed any story previously shared on this channel, then can check the playlist provided in the description box. I start today's episode with a disclaimer that this incident is not made up and has not been narrated to develop a belief in spirits. You certainly can hear it as a story. Like other teenagers, Samaresh used to spend his evenings playing outdoors. He used to wait for the moments when he could spend fruitful time with his playmates. The playground, located not very far from his house, was the meeting place for the gang of boys. There were two routes to reach there. First, from the main road, and second, from within the alleys. Just to save time, most of them used to go via the narrow lanes to save time. The boys used to bypass one dark, narrow lane because the lane was deserted. It happened one evening that Samaresh was getting late. He was desperate to be with his friends as quickly as possible. He was in a hurry, so he thought of taking the dark, vacant lane. It was a shortcut. He wanted to save time. Due to urgency, he took that path. There was a tube well in that narrow lane, and close to that tube well was a small hut of an old lady. Many times Samaresh had seen that old lady passing through the playground. He tried to avoid eye contact with her because her glance was scary. She was very feeble and strolled. On the day when he was getting late, he got some courage when he heard the sound of the tube well. This indicated that the lane was not vacant. There was someone pumping water from the tube well. Samaresh was happy to hear that sound. With a fearless heart, he fastened his speed. He now was in a different mood. He thought to himself, I am a brave boy, and why should I be scared of an abandoned alley? I will run fast and cross the small passage in no time. While passing by the tube well, his heart started to beat fast. His boldness seemed to have vanished somewhere. The vision made him extremely nervous. He saw nobody standing close to the well point. The loud sound of the tube well existed, but there was no entity. He thought, who was pumping water out of that well point? He could hear the sound, and to top it all, he could see the water flowing out of that tube well. Oh my God, what is this happening? He knew he was trapped in between some invisible force. The uncanny vision was so scary that Samaresh started running in the opposite direction of the dark alley. All he wanted was to get out of that hell. While running towards the other side of the pathway, he shouted with fear. The reason was that he saw the old lady crawling towards him. She was staring at him with the same scary glance. This time she was not strolling but crawling. Seeing this, Samaresh could not hold his senses and collapsed in the middle of the lane. Later, when he was back to his senses, he saw himself on his bed. His parents, friends, and neighbors were there in the room. They all were curious to know why he had fainted. When asked, Samaresh narrated everything that had happened to him that day. On hearing this, the neighbors were in shock. One of them said, "Are you talking about that old lady who stays in the hut at the end of that dark alley?" Samaresh said yes. He said that he had seen that woman many times before that incident. At that moment, she was crawling like an unearthly entity. The neighbor answered, "How is that possible? That old lady died many days ago and her hut is vacant. There was no question of seeing her so many times. She had gone through a very tragic death." This statement was enough to make Samaresh realize that he had an encounter with a ghost of that old lady. Not once, but many times. Now I understand why Samaresh's body was trembling with fear while narrating that day's frightening incident. That was all for today. Before I sign off, a request that if my listeners want to share some uncanny stories on this channel, then they can certainly mail me the real life story on my email address provided in the description box. Stay connected with me. Bye for now.